Welcome back to another episode. In this video, we'll be updating you a little bit on a trip we just did and why, and a couple other things that have been going on. So we haven't made a video in a little bit here, and there's been a lot of prayer from the team and just trying to figure out the right path and the right timing. And I think the last couple of videos we did were around Myron's event.
Yeah, the Make More Offers Challenge.
And somehow that event put a lot of pressure on, like, is this the right thing? It started pressure testing things. Which was good. It started finding holes in some of our logic and some of the thoughts we had, and like just forcing us to add some objectives and some pathways to get to where we wanted to go. And so I think that was like kind of emotionally overwhelming, honestly, just figuring out, is this the right thing? And then praying, and like then like you'd have these synchronicities in the Bible app that you would get in a day of like your purpose and all this stuff, and just us trying to delineate like what path to go. Do we go down this, like take voice AI down this medical field? Do we do some other thing altogether? Like our current clients that we're having a hard time collecting payments from, and now that's like working. It was just this roller coaster of things that were going on. And so like that ultimately led to a little bit of burnout, at least for me. And so I'm glad that we quickly pivoted after July 4th to be like, get a team outing on the books. I think because a lot of times, one of the things I heard in the last couple of weeks, we were at one of the ministry groups at church, and then also in Myron's event, was like this idea of you don't lack awareness. Like you don't lack access, you lack awareness to the access you already have. And what this person at church said, they're like, yeah, I don't really go to like Crabtree Falls, or I don't go to this, I don't go to that, I don't go to all these like amenities, like beautiful natural parks and things that are around, because I just know they're there. And I think like we get stuck in the trap of that, is like, oh, I'll take a vacation when I feel like I deserve it, or I'll do the thing, or I'll start the thing when I know. Like Myron always talks about starting the business when you know what the business is, or like he's like, that's the equivalent of saying like, I'm going to leave Florida and go to Pennsylvania when I can see the Pennsylvania state line. It's like, well, you're never going to leave. So I don't know, just a bit of an odd intro, but there's a lot that's been going on in the last couple weeks, and I kind of feel a little bit relieved, just in terms of like a little bit of an answer to prayer with direction. And then also the trip, like coming back from the trip, there's like really not having to think about any of this stuff for a couple of days. You know, it was only a couple of days. I felt refreshed. And then just seeing like what's around us. And then we're thinking on the trip, like, wow. And we'll do some B-roll of a couple highlights at this segment. But it was really surprising thinking all this stuff that God had created just basically for us. It was like a playground for humans to like enjoy these things, because climbing in the woods and going way back deep into the woods and seeing these things that are out there, it's really crazy like how beautiful and magnificent the features are that he's created for us. So what is your thought on the trip? To cover it, do you want to tell people where we went, and then maybe some highlights and things that you want to add?
Sure. So we started in St. Paul, Virginia, which is in the southwestern portion of the state, an area that I have not been to. But what's crazy about Virginia is that area of Virginia is actually closer to more state capitals than it is to its own state capital in Richmond. So fun fact. Beautiful area. I would say I was amazed at just how many waterfalls are out there and all of the natural amenities. I mean, Virginia is just a really amazing state, with all the geography you have and all the different mountain areas. So that was really cool. And then from there, we drove to Pigeon Forge. And Pigeon Forge, that's where we stayed. Then we ended up driving through Gatlinburg, went across the Great Smoky Mountains, stopped at Clingmans Dome, which was an incredible view amongst the evergreen trees. Again, something I have not seen out here on the East Coast. I've only seen those out in Idaho and the western states.
When you say seen those, you mean the mountains or
the evergreen trees?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a big tree guy, as you know, so I appreciate seeing evergreen trees on the East Coast. I thought that was awesome. And then we ended up going from the Great Smokies to Asheville, North Carolina, which we can talk about that, but fantastic city, definitely lived up to the hype for me. And then made our way back up to Lynchburg.
Yeah, I don't know. So what was your favorite spot? Like favorite city and then favorite thing?
I mean, I would have to say it'd be crazy for me not to say Asheville because of those three cities. St. Paul was an awesome city. It was just really small. Asheville, I had lower expectations because so many people have hyped up Asheville for me over the years and said how great it is. When usually I hear that over and over again, it just feels like everyone's drinking the Kool-Aid and people are saying it's great because other people have said it's great. Asheville lived up to the hype for me. Had great restaurants, great art scene, a little bit of grit, a little bit of edginess, but it was it was well balanced out. It was perfect. It was a beautiful city, really friendly people. I'd go back to Asheville again for sure. And yeah, I would say I'm glad I got to see Pigeon Forge, but everything's bad. I don't know if I'll be back until I have kids.
Yeah,
Maybe never.
Pigeon Forge was interesting. I mean, so on a channel talking about entrepreneurship and building a business, I think Pigeon Forge literally is like the ideal of consumerism. It's just about consumption. I think that's why I liked it so little.
I was gonna say, what was your favorite city on the trip?
You know, honestly, I think the waterfall is really cool. St. Paul is just like a little nothing town. I think St. Paul is so cool because you could just live there and be like off the grid. And you know, one of my favorite movies is a movie that like looks like it takes place in the 80s, and it's The Feast of the Seven Fishes. And it's just like it is just so much that. Like it's old world America, just the way that things used to be, massive portion sizes, you know, local mom and pop stores everywhere. Strange grocery stores, but they, you know, it just was everything you needed and nothing you didn't, and the people were just really delightful. So I thought that was cool. Like there was something in there that was interesting. Asheville's cool, obviously really nice, big. Like you said, it's been hyped up a lot. There was like endless stuff to do there, and I thought I do want to add, like, are we a year from that flooding happening? About a year?
A little bit less than a year. So you're referring to Hurricane Helene that happened last fall that hit Asheville really hard, the River Arts District, which I was surprised at. So I just spoke with actually somebody this morning. They asked me about that event. I was surprised at how back to life that area is, especially the street that's up a couple, you know, blocks from the bank of the river. I mean, it really seemed like it bounced back. Like it didn't really seem like it was a city that was just devastated from a massive hurricane from what I saw in the photos. So it was good to see that Asheville's trying to come back and redevelop that area.
To be fair though, like neither of us really knew what that waterfront looked like. I agree, I feel the same. Like the green space and whatever, it seemed like there was a couple things that were bent or like knocked out of place. But like, you know, other than the warehouses or those art studios, which were clearly like closed to get redone, which most of them were brick or masonry. Like I don't feel like if they get the wood out and they fix a couple things, they'll be fine. But like other than what was completely demolished, we just don't know. We neither of us really saw it before that. So I don't know what I don't know in terms of the riverfront. But I was surprised at like how presentable it was only a couple months later, considering how devastating that was.
What was the most surprising experience on the trip for you?
Devil's Bathtub was like a big like anchor for the trip, you know? So it's like, it's hard for me. I don't want to say that because I feel like that's the easy one to go to. I would say St. Paul. St. Paul was really cool. It was the first night of the trip, and it was with so many things in life where it's like, it was the first reality that like we were on this trip, and it was like a disconnect from the internet and the computer, and it was just something about like they had those UTV carts there that you could rent. It was like, it just reminded me of the West Coast. It took me back, and like they call it the gateway to coal country. And so like going up there, and the first day, the waterfall that we came to see, Devil's Bathtub, was not like all the locals said don't go. Like 10 people came out of the hotel. They're like, don't go there.
That was surprising to me. And it was surprising to me because I actually thought that hike was it was an easy hike. Now I'm glad we didn't go at 4:30 p.m., which was our original plan, because the next day ended up being perfect. So, but it was interesting taking advice from people that we later found out actually had never done that hike. And
some of them had.
Yeah, the only person I spoke with in person had not done the hike. But either way, I do still think it was common sense better not to start a hike at 4:30.
Yeah, I don't really know what the thing was behind that. So a bunch of the hotel staff kind of cautioned us from it. And like, once one person came out and said something, then a bunch of people came from the back of the hotel and were like, don't go. And it was like 4:30. I mean, you and I, we're not like athletic like super hikers or whatever. We're like not in horrible shape. And I think it was the phone service. Like they didn't have phone service.
Yeah.
People had gotten medevac before or whatever.
Yeah, the idea of being medevaced out, we were laughing about that as a team. And the whole time that was like a running joke was, you know,
It's going to get pitch black.
but yeah, we're gonna get medevaced out. I mean, that was definitely more on the dramatic side. I thought that trail was really well blazed. It was clear. Now I'm happy. I think actually I would have been more worried about going during a busier time of the day, because we got there. We left. I think we got there around 10:30 in the morning, and it was perfect. There were just a couple people there. Had the whole bathtub to ourselves. This really cool bathtub that they call Devil's Bathtub, because the water is supposed to be so cold it can put fires out all the way, I guess, in hell, right?
I don't know, but it wasn't that. It was pretty cold, but like for me to be able to dunk in, I feel like it must be pretty bearable because
Definitely not cold plunge
I don't. Yes.
levels, yeah.
So it was cool. Recommend going early. How does all this relate to the business building and all that stuff? I think the takeaway for me is like it. Sometimes you get stuck on the hamster wheel of like you can't stop, and like you're going at 35 or 40%, like you're not even at like peak operating performance, but it's like I really do think, Tony Robbins talks a lot about like you need to change your state in order to change your situation, or you like he'll make people get up and like jump around or whatever, and I think that's also true for this. It's like you're not going to come up with fresh ideas, fresh perspectives doing the same thing you always do in the same routine, which routine is great, like it has a place, but I think it was really important to break out of that and like eat fried chicken by the kilogram for a while. But yeah, I think that was probably the takeaway for me.
That's cool. It's crazy how God drops these ideas in your head. I started to get this like second wind even before the trip. I was like packing, getting ready to leave here. And I put on a podcast and Alex Hormozy came on, and I hadn't been on his channel in weeks, and what happened to play was one about lead magnets, and it was about B2B business, and it happened to be so interesting to me because he's talking about how buyers who are coming to your website, if they're not, of course they're not going to fill out a demo form on the first visit. Most of the time they have to get warmed up, they're not ready to buy. And I just thought that was really powerful, and the timing, thank you God, was perfect for me because it gave me a different state of mind coming into the trip, and now coming back, I feel like I have some of the work cut out for me and a new state of mind on how to approach things. It just felt for 2 weeks after Myron's course of being stuck, and I think that part of that was also just questioning, well, like everything that people in Myron's course are doing seemed to be very B2C, quick decisions probably to be made from people that they want to buy and they have a high intent. And sometimes I think we crave that fast transactional nature with the business, but I feel like coming back, I have more of like, it's gonna take some time for us to try some of these new tactics, and why are we rushing around for? It's not gonna be fun. So it was rejuvenating from that aspect. I felt even coming into the gym after not working out for a couple days, my body felt really refreshed.
There's a lot I could add to that, but for the sake of time for this video, I think we can end it here. But the advice would be to get out of your same space, to change your state so you could change your mind, and to get outside, even if you have to sleep in a hotel or in a tent and ruin your sleep for a couple nights.
And if you live on the East Coast, do not check the weather and think you're going to be basing a trip around it not raining, because we had basically blew the whole month of June saying it's going to rain, we're not going to go to Tennessee, we're not going to drive this far. We ended up going, and it was a 50% chance of rain. It didn't even rain one time that impacted our plans. So I would say don't just have it be based on the weather. Get out there, book the trip, and just make it happen.
Okay, we'll see you in the next one.